Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or good afternoon, actually. And I'm very sorry that I'm not there with you in Iceland. Unfortunately, I only made it as far as London due to some airplane problems. But I'm happy to be able to share, share my talk with you anyway. So let me just get my talk here, and hopefully we can begin. I'm assuming I had an introduction, but if not, I've been in the travel business a long time. I'm the founder of Travelocity, the founding chairman of Kayak, and was until recently the chairman of an AI startup called Wayblazer. And I want to talk today about startups, which seems appropriate since it's the name of the conference. I've worked in 4 successful startups. I've been on the board of many more and an advisor to even more than that. So I've worked in the startup space for a very long time. And I want to talk to startups about startups today, but in context of why they don't work. 47% have no market need, 29% ran out of money, 23% the wrong team, outcompeted, no business model, losing focus, bad pivot, you can see. So that's the context I want to use because, of course, for all of us, the most important thing is to succeed. Now, I've been going down this road a long time in travel and technology, and I've learned something about disruption. When I started learning to program, it was on punch cards. In the lower left, you can see the machine that I used to make the first reservation I ever made in a travel agency. Believe it or not, that's a telegraph machine. Then I worked through the era of dumb terminals and mainframes with Sabre and finally to Travelocity, and my most recent company was an AI company. So I think I've spanned many, many years of disruption. I've been a travel agent, a product marketer, a CIO, a CEO, a chairman. I've served on 17 boards. I'm a venture capitalist, an author, and a speaker. I co-founded my first startup at 21, and I did my 5th startup just 4 years ago. And I guess the most important thing I've learned is to never stop learning all the way from telegrams to artificial intelligence. You know, every startup starts with a dream. As the song says, you got to have a dream. If you don't have a dream, how are you going to make your dreams come true? But how big a dream is necessary to be disruptive? Steve Jobs said 1,000 songs in my pocket and invented the iPod. But perhaps you don't have to change the world to cause disruption. Maybe it's just one thing. Just one thing. Travelocity was a registered travel agent. We just allowed you to do it yourself. That was really our only difference. We went public for $1.2 billion. Kayak allowed you choice of where to book, whether it's with Orbitz or cheap tickets or directly with the airline. We gave you choice. And we sold that company for $1.8 billion. So you don't have to change everything to cause disruption. Now, how about having the right leader? How important is it? Well, 30% fail due to leadership issues. Are entrepreneurs born or are they made? Well, I think they can be made, but you have to have the right ingredients. So the common wisdom is that entrepreneurs are creative. But Harvard did a study about entrepreneurs and said, well, entrepreneurs are actually seekers of adventure. They look for opportunity. They're constantly learning. They're open to new experiences. I think learning and being open to new experiences are the most important attributes of entrepreneurial leadership. The common wisdom is that entrepreneurs enjoy risk. No, but according to the study, they are comfortable with risk. Entrepreneurs supposedly are more ambitious. Not true, but they need to own their own projects. They want to have control of what they're doing. And finally, entrepreneurs are natural sales leaders. That's absolutely true. So entrepreneurs are creative, open to new things, learners, comfortable with risk, need ownership, and are natural salespeople. That's, pardon me, who entrepreneurs really are. Now, how about me? Was I born a businessman? Well, I've always been curious. My mom took me to the library when I was a kid, and I really was a voracious reader. And also because we were in advertising, we had over 30 magazines delivered to our home. So I read everything from popular science to modern weddings. I think that helped me become a learner. My dad taught me to build things, a go-kart, and we worked together on electronics. I was a history major in college. I think that helped me learn how to learn and gave me a perspective. After I left college, I spent a year traveling around the world. It was probably the best postgraduate education I could have had. I learned that I have a sense of adventure, that the world taught me there's more than one right answer to every question. I became more patient. I became a better listener. And I realized you have to take risks to get where you're going. So I think with the right ingredients and a lot of training, anybody can become an entrepreneur. But can the leaders scale? Can they outrun the tiger of growth? My friend Jay Walker, who started Priceline, also had an incubator. And in it, he had groups of starters, growers, and runners. He had certain people who liked to start companies, so he'd let them do the first couple of years, and then he'd give it to a grower. And after the company became mature, he gave it to a runner. They really are different people. It's not always possible for the initial entrepreneur to make it all the way through the end stage, and that's okay. Now, I was lucky. My first startup started with 3 people. Then I managed 12, then 100, then 1,000, then 2,000. And finally, I grew Travelocity over 3,000 people. So I had the education that helped me learn how to scale. Now, how about the team? How important is the team? I think it's all about the team. The team is the most critical part of a startup. 23% failed due to the wrong team. And there are a lot of lessons, but we don't have much time. I'd say the most important lesson is don't hire your best friend. Hire the best person. The managing CTO at Kayak was the best hiring manager I've ever seen. He'd go anywhere in the world to hire a great engineer. And as he traveled around, he'd talk to people, and if he hired somebody, then he'd say, who's the smartest person you know? And he'd immediately get on the phone and go hire that person. It's about hiring A people. They outperform B people. And he was successful because rock stars like to hang out with rock stars. He never talked about salary first. It was always about Kayak's going to change the world. Now, do you think one person can make a difference? I think one person can make all the difference. One person at Expedia beat Travelocity. One person went to the boss and said, we should combine air, car, and hotel together in package sales. And it was a great idea to package products at a discount. Never been done in travel before. It took them a year to convince the boss to do it, another year for them to roll out the product. But when they did so, they doubled their sales in 2 quarters, past Travelocity like we were stopped. Travelocity never caught them. One person. So watch and be careful and select the best person. 19% of startups simply get out-competed. What about risk? What's your attitude toward risk? Do you avoid it, reduce it, transfer it, or accept it? Today, you have to accept risk. Now, I did my first startup at 22, and might sound like a big risk, but it was really a small risk. I was single. I was living in an apartment. I wasn't making much money anyway. And we turned that company into the 50th largest travel agency in the United States. And then I went to my second startup, a company that sold mini computers to travel agencies. And after about a year, that company was sold to American Airlines. And suddenly I was in a big company. I was moving up the ladder from director to assistant VP and VP. Eventually, I became CIO. When I was CIO, I took a huge risk. I was married. I had 2 kids, a big mortgage, a big salary. I said, that little online thing we have? I'd like to go run that. And they said, well, you're crazy. It's only 10 people. I said, no, I think it's going to be big. And we turned it into Travelocity.com and took it public for $1.2 billion. Big risk, big reward. Now, since that time, I've taken a number of small risks. I've been on 17 public and private boards. I've been a consultant, a venture capitalist, a speaker, an author. If I look back at those companies, some of them shrank, some of them flamed out entirely. And the rest of them, well, the rest created over $6 billion of value. 2 of them were unicorns. Risk, reward. Now, 4 years ago, I went all in again with my time and my treasure, and people said, Jerry, do you have to do another startup? I said, no, man, I'm on a government pension. I don't have to do another startup. I wanted to do another startup. And unfortunately, last year it failed. Not because we didn't have great customers or produce great products. We simply ran out of money. 75% of startups fail. Less than 50% make it past their 4th birthday. So was I disappointed? Sure. But, you know, I'm still operating on full throttle. I mean, I just had a $15 million education in what not to do. So take the first risk. And you can make risks smaller today. You can use A/B testing or AI web testing. You can build 3D prototypes. You can do lots of work just based on credit cards, you know, and starting small to test your idea. But you've got to get out there and take the risk. And you have to have centuries to be listening to what customers are saying all the time. 14% fail by ignoring customer feedback. So listen to your customers. At Travelocity, we had a phone booth in the hall. The phone booth was a symbol. Everybody, because when you pick up the phone, you could listen to customer service. And everybody in the company, from the guy in the mailroom to me, had to take 2 customer calls a month. And then at their staff meeting discussed first, what did we do to solve the customer's problem? And secondly, what great ideas have you heard from customers this month? It involved everybody in the company in the customer's pain. Now at Kayak, we don't have a phone bank. Our CTO said, no, we're a search company, but we will get emails. And we send the emails to the engineers. And you might think that's crazy, but our slogan is give the pain to the people who cause the pain. And it worked. We were public with just 200 people, simply because we moved very fast and we listened to what customers were saying. And if you do that, then your product can become clay in the customer's hands. Kayak has the #1 mobile travel app in the world. We have over 60 million downloads. But when we started, we thought mobile apps should be about next flight out. I missed my plane, or I need a hotel for tonight. You know, emergency, I didn't get through, like me, traveling to Iceland. Turns out that wasn't correct. The behavior of the consumer was just like the desktop. They were booking 2.5 weeks out. If we hadn't had great customer feedback and short feedback loops, we would never have changed the product fast enough, and we wouldn't have 60 million downloads. Now, entrepreneurs are fearless, but they shouldn't be bullheaded, because you've got to survive the pivot. And every company I've been in has had to pivot at one point or another. People want certainty. They want the long, straight road to success. I'm here to tell you it doesn't exist. The road to successful startups looks like this. So let me tell you about Travelocity.com. Travelocity was a licensed travel agent, but online with a national brand. And our business model when we started was just like any other travel agent. We earned commissions, airlines, cars. We did some advertising. We sold merchandise. We grew like a weed. By our 3rd year, we were doing $11 million a week, and we had 5.5 million members. And then Microsoft entered the market. Well, at the time, Microsoft, and again, I guess, was one of the largest companies in the world. We were terrified. And they contemplated building travel into the browser, which would have killed us. So we responded with portal deals. We did a big Yahoo deal and a big Netscape deal. The airlines didn't want online travel agents to succeed, so they cut commissions from 10% to 8%. We responded with higher margin products, moving into cruise and package tours. And we went public and acquired the #3 site and got all the AOL traffic to fight off Microsoft. The airlines responded by cutting commissions from 8% to 5%. So we reduced cost and added telephone sales. And then 4 of the U.S. airlines banded together to create a project whose code name was Travelocity Terminator. You know it as Orbitz. We thought it should be illegal for the airlines to combine and do that. And I lobbied everybody, including Bill Clinton, but it didn't work. They let Orbitz launch. And then 9/11 happened. Business fell 70% and leveled off at 30% less than its previous volume. The airlines created more pressure. They took the opportunity of 9/11 to cut commissions to zero, nada, nunca, nothing. We instituted a service fee. And even though our commissions were being cut over and over again, our sales were increasing because we were constantly transforming our model, moving from airlines more into hotels, more into package tours, finding new ways to make money. You have to keep calm and stay the course. 17% have no business model. But listen to the story of Kayak. Kayak started with a dinner with a napkin, the traditional 4 guys in a VC charting out our plan. We created meta-search, the ability to search all the carriers, all the hotels, and then let you book wherever you wanted. The airlines thought that was a great idea because we were delivering customers not to the first page, but to the last page, where you just put in your name and bought the ticket. Innovative, we need, amazing. And then when we said, here's what it'll cost, they said, oh no, we don't want to pay anything. So we built it anyway. We had a good VC backer, and we sent lots of traffic to the airlines. And then one day, we turned it off. The phone rang off the hook. Hey, where's our traffic, the airline said. Same place your money is, nowhere. Well, perhaps we invented ransomware, but it worked. You have to be flexible. And that's what we were. We were flexible, and we waited, and we created enough demand, and then created a company worth $1.8 billion. The battle is decided if the startup gets the distribution before the incumbent gets the innovation. And that's exactly what happened with us. And no matter how much money you raise, keep costs low. 29% run out of cash, and that happened to us, even though our costs were low. You spend it all on a terrific office with a slide, or free food, or parties. I've seen it happen. Be cheap. Don't spend much, even if you have it, because you have to perform. So in summary, yes, entrepreneurs can be made. You got to have a dream, but you don't have to change everything to change the world. The leader is key, and past failure is okay. Building the team is the #1 job, the best team you have. Remember, VCs invest in the team even more than they invest in the idea. Be prepared to pivot, but not through fear. Figure out what's next, change your product, listen to the customer. Take risks. Entrepreneurs always take risks, but they don't have to be huge risks. And remember, without market fit, you've got zip. This stuff is very, very hard. Sometimes people don't get it, and that's probably an indication you have to change. But success is a terrific rush. Having had some successful startups, I know what a rush it is. And remember, the future is a foreign country, and they do things differently there. Thank you very much. And here's where you can download these slides if you want. And I hope to see many of you tomorrow or the next day. I've got several speeches in Iceland.